The Parker house had always been quiet since Robert's passing, but tonight the silence carried weight. Every creak of the floorboards made Katherine, Kate Parker's heart twitch. Then came a sound sharper than grief. Scratching. She froze in the kitchen, listening. It wasn't mice, nor wind rattling the shutters. The sound was deliberate. She followed it up the hallway and stopped dead. Her golden retriever, Molly, stood rigid before the old mirror. The dog's paw scraped at the wooden frame, nails clicking like an urgent code. Kate whispered her name, but Molly didn't look back. Her reflection in the glass seemed uneasy, her brown eyes locked on something beyond the surface. Kate shivered. For a fleeting second, she swore she saw a flicker move inside the mirror. Not her, not the dog, something else. Henry Wallace, Kate's younger brother, arrived the next morning to check on her. Kate barely touched her coffee as she explained what had happened. It wasn't just scratching, Henry. I saw something move in the mirror. Henry chuckled nervously, chalking it up to stress. But as he glanced down the hall, his smirk faltered. Molly was already there, sitting before the mirror again, her golden coat bristling. She pawed once, then whined, eyes fixed on the glass. Henry crouched, staring into his own reflection. The morning light struck the glass strangely, making shadows swirl. For a heartbeat, he thought he saw someone step out of frame behind him. He whirled around. Nothing. Molly growled low and steady. The mirror no longer looked like a reflection. It looked like a window, and something, or someone, was waiting on the other side. By the third day, Molly's obsession became undeniable. Every afternoon, she padded down the hallway, sat firmly in front of the mirror, and refused to move. She scratched, whined, and sometimes barked sharply as though trying to alert them. Kate tried to drag her away, but Molly would always return, claws clicking against the hardwood until she sat at her post again. At night, the dog lay curled by the mirror, her ears twitching at sounds Kate could not hear. One evening, Kate draped a blanket over the glass, hoping to settle Molly, but the dog nosed under it and barked, pawing fiercely until the fabric slid down. The sight chilled Kate. Molly wasn't fooled by reflections. She knew something was inside, or behind, that mirror. Kate's grief-ridden heart twisted into dread. What secret was Molly so desperate to uncover? The Parker home carried ghosts of memory even before Molly's strange behavior. Robert Parker's death had left Kate and her teenage son living among shadows of the past. His work boots by the door, his old recliner untouched in the den. The mirror, too, had been his, and a family heirloom passed down for generations. Kate stared at it now with unease, recalling how Robert once said it held the family's truth. At the time, she thought it a joke. Now, with Molly's unyielding fixation, it felt like a warning. Henry tried to comfort her, saying, "Dogs grieve strangely. She misses him, that's all." But when Molly began pawing with urgency, nose pressed hard to the frame, Kate felt a pang of certainty. This wasn't grief. This was direction. The dog wasn't mourning Robert. She was guiding them towards something he had left unfinished. By Saturday morning, the house had become unbearable. Molly's cries echoed through the hallway, and Kate felt her sanity fray. Henry rubbed his temples. Enough. We're taking the mirror down. Kate hesitated. Robert's heirloom was sacred. But when Molly pawed the glass so hard her nails squealed, Kate nodded with resolve. They fetched the toolbox. Together, Henry steadied the mirror while Kate unscrewed the rusted brackets. The glass felt heavier than it should, cold against your hands, almost resisting. Finally, with a groan, the frame pulled free from the wall. Dust spiraled through the air as the mirror settled against the floor. Molly immediately pressed her nose against the bare wall behind it. Kate's breath caught. It wasn't drywall. A wooden panel, faintly outlined, stared back at them. Hidden. Sealed.
forgotten. Molly whined and pawed again, her eyes burning with insistence. Kate reached out with trembling fingers, pressing the wood where Molly scratched. The wood was softer than she expected, thin under her hand. Henry fetched a screwdriver, jamming it into the seam. With a sharp crack, the panel shifted, dust puffing into the air. "This was built to be hidden," Henry muttered. Molly barked sharply, her tail whipping like a metronome of urgency. They pried the panel open further, revealing a shallow cavity. The stale scent of age rolled out, dust, cedar, and something metallic. At the back sat a small wooden box, its surface darkened by time. Kate pulled it free, her heart hammering. Molly licked her hand as though approving. Henry peered inside. What's so important to hide behind a mirror? Kate swallowed hard. Something Robert wanted us to find, but only when Molly showed us how.
The box creaked open under Kate's fingers, hinges stiff with age. Inside lay yellowed letters, black and white photographs, and beneath them, a brass key. Molly's nose darted into the box, nudging the key, tail wagging furiously. Kate frowned. "You want me to pick it up?" Molly barked once, sharp and sure. Henry examined the key. It was old, ornate, its bow shaped like a daisy. Tucked beneath the papers was another object, a folded scrap of parchment. Kate unfolded it carefully. A hand-drawn map sprawled across the page, marked with cryptic symbols and an X scrawled near the woods behind their property. Kate's hands trembled. This isn't just mementos." Molly barked again, pawing insistently at the map, then racing to the back door before circling back. She wasn't asking anymore, she was commanding them. "Follow the map, find the truth." Henry sifted through the photographs, his brow furrowed. They were of people he didn't recognize, faces grim with history. Some bore soldiers' uniforms, others showed children holding daisies. Kate turned over one letter, written in shaky script. "For the family who finds this, the gift lies where daisies bloom." She looked up at Henry, unsettled. "Robert mentioned daisies once. He said they marked something important." Molly barked sharply, pawing the box again. Then she did something uncanny. She reached into the compartment with her paw, scraping the wooden base. Henry leaned down, tapping it. Hollow. He pried it open further, pulling free a second slip of folded parchment nearly lost to rot. On it was a note. "The key fits more than you think." Molly's ears pricked, eyes fixed on Kate, waiting. The dog already knew what came next.
That night, the discovery gnawed at Kate's mind. The brass key glinted under lamplight, heavy in her palm. The map was fragile, its lines faded but still clear. Molly sat beside her, head on Kate's lap, eyes unblinking. Henry tried to rationalize. Probably just an old tool shed or chest buried by Grandpa. Nothing to get excited over. But Kate shook her head. The letters spoke of inheritance, of promises kept in silence. "No, Henry, this is more." Molly whined softly, pawing Kate's knee until she placed the key back into the box. The dog immediately stilled, satisfied. Kate exhaled. "She's leading us somewhere." Robert must have known Molly would finish this for him. Outside, the wind moaned through the trees, almost like an echo. Molly's ears twitched, nose lifting as if scenting destiny. The map wasn't waiting. Neither was the truth. The following morning, the sun broke through gray clouds, casting a rare warmth over the Parker home. Yet the air inside was thick with tension. The box, the key, the map, all laid on the dining table like relics demanding action. Henry paced, shaking his head. Chasing fairy tales. We should leave it buried. Kate remained silent, her fingers brushing the brass key. Molly, however, had no patience for doubt. She padded to the door, barked once, then sat firmly, eyes fixed on Kate. The message was unmistakable. Now. Kate rose, heart pounding. "We go." Henry sighed, resigned. Molly bounded ahead, tail sweeping like a banner of purpose. Kate gripped the map tightly, staring at the faded X. The question hung heavy in her mind. Was this about memory alone, or had Robert left them a secret far larger than grief?
The map led them beyond the Parker home, down the sloping yard and toward the thick line of woods that bordered the property. Molly trotted ahead, nose close to the ground, her tail wagging with certainty. Kate clutched the map while Henry followed reluctantly, muttering about wild goose chases. The trees closed in around them, the air cooler, quieter, broken only by Molly's steady panting. At a fork in the trail, the dog stopped, sniffed the air, and barked once before darting left. Kate glanced at the map. The faint X aligned perfectly with Molly's direction. Her pulse quickened. This wasn't coincidence. Branches cracked beneath their boots as they pressed on. Finally, the path opened into a clearing where daisies bloomed wildly despite the season. Molly stopped at the center, pawing the earth with urgent scratches. Kate's throat tightened. This was the place. Kate knelt beside Molly, running her hand over the soft, daisy-covered earth. The soil here looked disturbed, darker than the surrounding ground. Molly pawed again, then barked sharply, the sound echoing in the clearing. Henry groaned, but his eyes betrayed unease. "Fine, let's see what's so important." He grabbed a fallen branch and began scraping at the soil. Within minutes, his branch struck something solid. The thud reverberated through the ground. Kate's eyes widened. She dropped to her knees, digging with her bare hands. Soon, a flat wooden surface appeared beneath the dirt. The box was larger than the one behind the mirror, its surface weathered and stained by years underground. Molly barked again, circling them, tail lashing in excitement. Kate gasped as she noticed a metal lock embedded into the box. The ornate brass lock perfectly matched the strange old key. The key shook slightly in Kate's trembling hand. Molly sat patiently, her brown eyes fixed on the lock, as though she understood the importance of this moment. Henry muttered, "It'll probably be empty," but his voice lacked conviction. Kate slid the key into the lock. It fit snugly, as though it had waited for decades to turn. With a firm twist, the lock clicked open. The sound sent shivers up Kate's spine. Together, she and Henry heaved the lid back. A stale wave of air rose, carrying the scent of dust and metal. Inside lay bundles of faded letters, leather pouches, and beneath them, a small iron safe, its surface etched with initials, R.P. Kate froze. Robert Parker. Molly barked twice, pawing the side of the safe. Kate's hand brushed the cold metal. This wasn't just memory. This was inheritance, hidden in silence. The safe sat heavy within the wooden chest, stubborn as stone. Henry strained to lift it, but it wouldn't budge. "It's bolted to the bottom," he realized, frustration lacing his voice. Kate leaned closer, running her fingers over the carvings. The initials weren't the only marks. Along the top edge, faint words were etched, "For blood and trust only." Molly whined softly, pressing her nose against the safe as if urging them onward. Kate felt a chill. This wasn't meant for strangers, but for family who carried the key and the courage to face what lay inside. Henry sighed, wiping sweat from his brow. How many more secrets did Robert bury? Kate steadied her hands on the box, as many as it took to protect us. Molly barked once, sharp and firm. It wasn't a question anymore. They had to open it.
Kate tilted the safe, brushing away dirt from its edges. There, hidden along the side, was another smaller keyhole. 2 locks, she murmured. Robert wanted to make sure only the right person found it. Henry frowned. "But we only have 1 key." Molly circled the safe, sniffing its corners before stopping abruptly at the daisy patch. She dug furiously, scattering petals and dirt until her paw struck something metallic. Henry knelt, pulling free a small, rusted tin. Inside lay another key, identical in shape but darker with age. Kate's breath caught. Molly had known exactly where to look. She handed the key to Kate, who inserted both keys into the safe's twin locks. With Henry steadying the base, she turned them simultaneously. The mechanisms clanked, gears grinding. Then, with a groan like a vault awakening, the safe's door creaked open. Light caught the gleam first. Gold coins, tarnished yet brilliant, spilled across the safe's interior. Bundles of cash wrapped in faded bank paper were stacked neatly beside them. Kate gasped, covering her mouth. Henry's jaw dropped. This is a fortune. Molly barked once, tail wagging, eyes bright with triumph. Kate lifted a coin, its weight solid, its surface stamped with an emblem decades old. Beneath the money lay more, jewelry wrapped in cloth, silver bars, and a notebook bound in leather. She flipped it open. Inside were Robert's careful entries, records of where the treasure came from, how it had been passed down, and instructions for whoever found it. Protect the wealth. Use it for family, not greed. If Molly leads you here, you were meant to know. Tears pricked Kate's eyes. Robert hadn't left them with nothing. He left them everything.
Henry scooped a handful of coins, letting them clink through his fingers, eyes wide with disbelief. "This could change everything," he whispered. Kate, however, didn't look at the gold. She stared at the leather-bound notebook. The first page bore Robert's handwriting. Our family carried secrets not just of memory, but of survival. This wealth is our past and our future. Kate read silently, each line a message from the grave. Robert explained how his grandfather had hidden the treasure after the Great Depression, fearing it would divide the family. Only trust and loyalty could unlock it. Molly lay calmly by the safe, as though her task was complete. Kate looked at her. "You knew, didn't you, girl? You knew this was waiting." Molly thumped her tail once against the earth. The gold glittered, but the real treasure was Robert's trust. As evening shadows fell, the clearing glowed faintly from the treasure's reflection. Henry stared at the stacks of cash, his voice low. "Do you know what this means, Kate? We could pay off everything, start new lives." Kate closed the notebook firmly. "That's not what Robert wanted. This isn't just money, it's legacy." Henry's frustration boiled. Legacy doesn't keep the lights on. He reached for the bundles of cash, but Molly sprang forward, barking ferociously. Her teeth snapped near his hand, forcing him to pull back. Henry froze, stunned by the dog's sudden ferocity. Molly growled low, her body rigid between Henry and the safe. Kate's voice was sharp. "She's guarding it. Robert entrusted her, not us." Henry glared, torn between greed and guilt. Molly didn't move, her loyalty unwavering. The message was clear. This treasure wasn't to be taken lightly.
Kate reopened the notebook, her hands trembling. The final pages held the answers she dreaded. Robert had written of debts, of a dangerous family feud generations old, and of promises sworn on gold. "If this safe is opened," the last entry read, "the finder must choose. Use it to heal or watch it destroy. The dog will guide you. Trust her." Kate's throat tightened. Robert had planned every detail, down to Molly's guardianship. Henry paced, fists clenching. "Heal or destroy? That's just words. This is real money, Kate." She shook her head, tears stinging. "It's more than that. It's what we do with it." Molly pressed her nose against the notebook, almost pointing to the words, "Heal." Her eyes glistened, fierce and knowing. Kate exhaled shakily. The choice wasn't just about treasure. It was about the family's soul. Thunder cracked overhead, startling them all. The clearing darkened as heavy clouds rolled in, the daisies bending under sudden gusts. Molly barked once, sharply, then moved to Kate's side, pressing against her legs. "We can't leave it here," Henry insisted, panicked. "If someone finds out..." Lightning split the sky, illuminating the gold in a flash of brilliance. Kate clutched the notebook to her chest, her resolve hardening. "We'll protect it, but not by hoarding it. We'll follow Robert's words." Rain began to fall in sheets, soaking the soil, dripping into the safe. Molly barked again, urging them to cover it. Together, they dragged the heavy lid shut, sealing the treasure beneath its guardian daisies. The storm raged, but Kate felt clarity. This wasn't just about surviving grief. It was about protecting a gift meant to outlast greed, carried by trust, and a dog.
Kate, Henry, and Molly trudged back through the storm, soaked to the bone. The wind howled, shaking branches overhead as if the forest itself were guarding their secret. Inside, the house felt warmer, though tension still lingered. Kate set the notebook on the dining table, her fingers brushing over the weathered leather. Molly curled at her feet, mud on her paws, but her eyes calm, as though her mission had been fulfilled, for now. Henry stood at the window, staring out toward the woods, his expression unreadable. "What if someone else knows about it?" he muttered. Kate shook her head. "They don't. Robert left it for us, and Molly made sure of that." Yet unease hung in the air, as though the storm had carried something inside. Kate glanced at Molly. The dog's ears perked. There was more to uncover. Morning came gray and heavy. Kate brewed coffee while Henry silently paced. The sudden knock at the door startled them both. Molly sprang up, growling low, her hackles raised. Kate hesitated before opening it. On the porch stood an older man in a damp trench coat, his silver hair slicked back, his sharp eyes unsettling. "Howard Preston," he introduced himself with a smile too smooth. "Your grandfather and I, we go back. I heard you found something behind the mirror." Kate's heart dropped. They hadn't told anyone outside the family. Henry stiffened. "How do you know that?" Howard chuckled softly. "Word travels when treasure is at stake." Molly barked furiously, lunging at the doorframe, her instincts screaming danger. Kate shut the door halfway, pulse racing. Whoever Howard Preston was, he wasn't here for memories. He was here for the gold. Kate rushed to the notebook, flipping through the final pages again, desperate for guidance. There, scribbled faintly in the margin, were words she hadn't noticed before. "If Preston comes, trust the dog. He cannot be allowed the treasure." Her breath caught. Robert had known. He had anticipated this moment. Henry read over her shoulder, his face pale. "So he's been waiting for this for years?" Kate nodded grimly. Molly growled again, pacing by the door. "He won't just leave," Henry muttered. "He'll come back for it." Kate pressed her hand to the notebook. "Then we won't let him." Molly stopped pacing, her nose pointed toward the hallway mirror's empty wall, tail stiff. Kate realized the dog wasn't just alert to threats. She was guiding them toward the truth again. The past wasn't finished. It was still moving around them. That evening, unease deepened. Every creak in the floorboards, every branch scratching against the window sounded heavier. Molly wouldn't rest. She patrolled the hall, ears flicking, nose to the air. Just past midnight, Kate woke to the sound of footsteps outside. She froze, listening. Molly's growl rumbled low, sharp. Henry grabbed a flashlight and moved to the window. Through the beam, he caught a fleeting figure slipping toward the woods. Howard Preston. "He knows," Henry whispered. Kate's stomach tightened. Molly whined softly, then barked, darting to the back door. Kate hesitated. Was Preston trying to find the clearing? The gold? She clutched the notebook tightly. "We follow her," she said, her voice trembling but certain. Molly bolted into the storm-dark night, leading them again. The treasure was no longer safe. The hunt had begun. The forest loomed darker than ever, branches clawing at their coats.
Rain had turned the path slick, but Molly was relentless, darting ahead with furious barks. In the clearing, Kate's worst fear came true. Howard Preston stood over the safe, mud smeared on his hands, crowbar in his grip. "So it's true," he sneered. "Robert left it for you, but you're too blind to use it." He swung the crowbar against the safe, sparks flying, but Molly lunged, teeth flashing, forcing him back. "Get your mud off me!" Preston roared. Kate stepped forward, trembling. "This doesn't belong to you. Robert warned us about you." Preston's eyes narrowed. "Warned you, did he? Then he knew I wouldn't stop. That gold, it's mine by blood." Henry tightened his fists, but it was Molly who stood tall, guarding the safe like a soldier. In the chaos, Kate noticed something. When Preston's crowbar struck the safe, part of its panel shifted, revealing a hidden mechanism along the base. It wasn't just a vault, it was designed with a failsafe. Kate remembered Robert's words, "For blood and trust only." She crouched quickly, brushing mud away, and found a small circular imprint shaped like a paw. Molly barked once, as though urging her forward. Kate guided Molly's paw into the imprint. The safe shuddered, gears clicking into place. A new compartment slid open, revealing not only more gold, but an envelope sealed in wax. Preston's eyes widened. "That's mine!" He lunged, but Molly snarled, forcing him back. Kate clutched the envelope to her chest. This wasn't just money. This was the final piece Robert wanted them to find, a weapon against greed, hidden until Molly chose.
Back inside the house, Kate opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter, yellowed but legible. Robert's handwriting flowed across the page. "If you are reading this, then the safe has chosen you. Preston will come, but he must never hold this wealth. He betrayed our family once before, and he will again. The gold is meant to restore, not to destroy. Share it with those who carry our name. If Molly led you here, she is your proof. Trust her above all else." Kate read aloud, her voice firm despite tears welling in her eyes. Henry exhaled sharply. So it was never Preston's? Molly rested her head on Kate's knee, eyes calm. For the first time, Kate understood. The dog wasn't just leading them. She was the keeper, chosen to reveal the truth only to the worthy. The next morning, Howard Preston returned with police in tow, his voice loud with accusations. "They stole from me," he shouted. "That treasure is mine." But when the sheriff examined Robert's letter, his expression hardened. Preston's claim crumbled. The letter exposed his betrayal, detailing how he had tried to seize the fortune decades earlier. Molly growled, stepping forward as Preston's voice cracked with desperation. The sheriff placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Howard Preston, you're under arrest for trespassing, attempted theft, and fraud." Preston fought briefly, but the cuffs snapped shut. Kate stood firm, clutching the notebook and letter. Molly wagged her tail slowly, eyes bright with victory. For the first time, the weight of fear lifted. Robert's legacy had been defended, not just by paper and words, but by the unwavering loyalty of a golden retriever.
With Preston gone, peace returned slowly. Kate and Henry sat together at the dining table, the treasure spread out between them. Gold coins gleamed under the soft light, but Kate's eyes lingered on Robert's final words. Use it for family, not greed. She folded the letter carefully and placed it atop the notebook. Molly curled beside the table, letting out a long, contented sigh. "So what do we do with it?" Henry asked quietly. Kate smiled faintly. "We honor Robert. We pay off the debts, restore the land, and build something worth leaving behind. Not for us, for everyone." Molly thumped her tail once, as though agreeing. The gold sparkled, but its weight felt lighter now. It was no longer a burden.
It was a gift, a chance to heal, a future carved out of trust, guarded by 4 paws. Weeks later, the house felt different, lighter. The safe had been resealed, the gold redistributed quietly among family causes, and the letters preserved in glass frames along the hall. But the true heart of the story sat curled by the fireplace, Molly. Visitors came, curious about the tale. Reporters asked for interviews, neighbors whispered about the treasure. Kate always gave the same answer. It wasn't us, it was Molly. On a golden afternoon, Kate knelt by her dog, stroking her fur. You brought us the truth. You brought us home. Molly looked up, eyes steady, filled with a wisdom no one could deny. She had been more than a pet. She was a guardian, a guide, a hero draped in golden fur. The mirror no longer hung in the hall. Instead, in its place was a simple plaque, for Molly, who remembered.